Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sammy George and I'm an independent makeup artist with Seint Beauty. And today we are talking brushes. Okay, so are you ever curious, like I see all these different brushes, which one do I use if I want medium coverage? Which one do I use if I want full coverage? Or what about just a light natural coverage? Or I got this one and I need some help with it, right? So we are starting a series. We are gonna go through every brush meant for face application, and we're gonna do a face just with this brush. We'll talk about what is easy about it, what it's meant for, what may be more challenging about it, and what you could use instead. So if you are curious about Seint brushes and how to use them, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing, and let's get started. We're gonna start with the brush that I recommend to almost all new clients, and it is the blush and bronzer brush. Now, first things first, it is important if you want to have the most success to get the right tools. So if you were setting out to paint your house and you went to Sherwin-Williams and you got the paint and you got all the stuff to lay on the floor and you did all the things, and then you went in your garage and you just used whatever brush you had, you did like 75% of what you needed to do, and then you didn't have the right tool possibly to get the outcome that you were looking for. This makeup does not work well with powder brushes. This is a synthetic bristled brush, and it is formulated specifically for our creams, and our creams are different than a BB cream. So I do recommend that you pick up the appropriate tool for the finish that you're looking for. As your artist, I will recommend the brush that's going to give you the best results from the beginning. It is very likely that it's going to be this brush, and let me tell you why. This is the perfect brush to not over apply. We have two brushes, the 3D brush and the buff brush, which are both great for medium to full coverage looks, but they do lend to over application to a beginner. And while you would think the 3D brush, right, this is 3D foundation, would be like the ideal tool, it's a great brush once you understand the makeup, but I don't think it's the best brush to get started with. I like the blush and bronzer brush because you can get light to medium coverage with this. You can do almost everything with this one brush if you really only want one, and it's not going to give you an overabundance of product from the beginning. These tins of makeup are basically just pigment. So in here, this is like just pigment. Less is truly more. And if you start with a brush that is super dense when you're learning to do something new or learning to use this product, the number one mistake that I see people making, myself included, when they start this makeup is using too much product. We're just used to certain quantities with liquid foundation or with a BB cream or a CC cream, and this is definitely a less is more product. So having the right brush is going to be crucial for that. So let's get started and let's just apply. So the number one pitfall with this brush is that it doesn't have a small end. So for me, when I am color correcting, when I am doing areas like underneath the eye, I do like to pick up a small brush, either the spot brush or the detail brush or the blend brush, something that has a small end that is not super dense, but dense enough to direct the product exactly where I want it. If you are just using the blush and bronzer brush, what I would do in that instance is I would use your finger. So let's get started by going into our color corrector. Color corrector is just the shade that you are going to put on the areas of the face where you have discoloration. If you are one of my clients, in your color match, I will mark up the selfie that you send me, and I will help you identify where that excess color is. So oftentimes people will fill out my color match form and they will say, you know, I want to take care of dark under eyes, rosacea, hyperpigmentation, anything that's a color issue. And you'll see how much that's already starting to tone that down. I like to do my color correction in these small areas with a small brush. Since we are learning how to do this full face application with one brush and just our finger and of course our perfector, always the perfector, what I would do in this instance is I would color correct the small areas of my face with my finger. And honestly, the warmth of your finger makes this like melt right onto the skin and gives you a beautiful finish right from the beginning. Okay, so I color corrected under my eyes, this scar on my nose, and I just put my color corrector where it was needed. So I'm just touching it to where I have that excess color. A little bit on those sunspots, my broken capillaries around my nose. Now I'm gonna go to this end, the small end of the blush and bronzer brush. I'm gonna pick up that little amount and I'm just gonna buff it into this bigger area right here where I have a little bit of redness or rosacea in the cheek. And I'm just doing this little circular motion, tapping the smallest amount, highly pigmented, remember that. And I'm just putting this where I have that rosacea. If you don't have any excess color in the cheek area, you could use your finger on those little spots and be done. Press a little bit on here to where you see that acne scarring. Again, a small brush will work magical for just getting that exactly where it's needed. But there we go. Step one for me is always color correction. It makes my makeup last the longest, and I can wear the smallest amount of makeup and get the best coverage when I take care of those dark points first. Now let's get into the rest of our 3D foundation. Small end, and I'm going to tap into, and I probably need to melt down my tins to get my color of my tin around there a little bit more. But again, small amount. And now what are we doing? Pressing. Press, press, press. Once you put your color corrector down, you only want to press because I don't want to move my color corrector. I place my color corrector strategically where it's needed, and now I am pressing that color right over top. It is the combination of my color corrector and this main foundation shade that's going to give me the ideal coverage, and it's what's going to match my neck. And as your artist, I will take care of knowing that for you. You'll tell me if you want to match your neck or your chest, if you want your face to be a little bit lighter or darker, and then I'll do the rest. I'll pick out your colors appropriately. Okay, so all I did was press that on in this little, it's called like stippling motion. We're just doing these little taps. Pressing it in to the tin, letting it blend over a larger surface area. The thing about creams, if it blends, it extends. So what does that mean? Cream's blendable, right? It's a hydrating emollient product. It's going to extend over some space on your face. So tap it and then let it work its magic and just move it around. I'm gonna go in between my brows and just on this bottom part of my forehead. And I will attach a new to 3D foundation video on here. I'm not talking specifically a lot about the concept of 3D foundation because this is really more about how to utilize your brushes. So now I'm gonna take my finger again, and this is my main shade. I color corrected. My main shade is the shade that matches most closely to like my natural skin tone. And I'm just tapping this ever so lightly, this little amount over that area of my under eye that I color corrected. Again, it's the combination of your color corrector, I had some right here, and your main shade. It's gonna do the magic. You guys, this is like smart makeup. It uses color science, like it's so amazing. It's how you can use the least amount of product and get the best coverage and color payoff, because it's all about using the right colors. So that's why you wanna get a personalized color match. I'm just gonna tap any spots that I see where I want a little bit more, and we are done with that. We're gonna go right into contour, still using the same end. I'm gonna squeeze my brush now. My favorite brush to contour with will forever be the detail brush, and it's because it has this end, which makes it ideal for sculpting that cheekbone and just being able to press onto that spot. This by nature is a little bit wider than I would want for contour. I wouldn't want my contour stripe to be that wide. So I'm just gonna squeeze my bristles together. I'm gonna pounce into my contour. Remember, your contour is a little bit drier, and it's meant to be because it's meant to sit more like in a specific area. We don't want it to blend quite as much. We're just using a little bit of product to add dimension to the face. And we do that around the top of the forehead, push it up into the hairline, coming down the side, push it up into the hairline, drag it down a little bit, and we are just doing a light hand. If you wanted more, you could just add more. We're keeping it real simple around the forehead, put it up into that hairline. If you're getting a little sparse in these areas, you can put it right in there, and it'll help give you a little bit of extra hiding of your hairline there. And now we've drawn our contour onto our face. I let it warm up just a second. The magic of your body warming up that cream is so good. And now I'm just flicking up. Contour is meant to lift the face, so we always want to flick up. You see how easily that just diffused it? And it's just like magic. Okay, ready? Squeezing my bristles together, pressing it in. I'm starting at the top of my ear, and I'm just following the top of my cheekbone until I get to the outer corner of my eye. Press, press, press. Didn't get as much that time. I need to melt my tins down so that my product's more evenly dispersed in the tin, but cream's so easy to work with. And now I'm just flicking up. So we flick up on these areas to define the face. Right? Grab that brush into the contour and go underneath the jawline. Let's sculpt out the chin area. Hide some of those jowls. Get underneath. We do want to pull this down the neck. On the cheeks, we never pull down. We always lift up. On the neck, we can pull down, and this is just because we want to blend it. We just don't want a harsh contour line showing through. Okay, we are done with contour. I wouldn't nose contour with this. This would be a little challenging. The detail brush is great for that, or your fingers. And if you wanted to use your fingers, you can just tap into your contour, get some on your fingers, hit the middle of your nose, and just drag it down the top of the bridge of the nose and really flick into your eyebrows. Put a little bit more there and kind of create that V right under the tip. Now we have a contour, a nose contour, and we will definitely clean that up in a little bit. So let's move on to our brightener shade. Brightener is what you're used to calling concealer, but we are concealing just a little bit with the intention of brightening the center of the face without putting a heavy load of concealer under the eye, which is gonna emphasize your fine lines and wrinkles. That's why we color corrected first. We took care of that color. So now we can just brighten. Again, small brush is what I would use for this, or you're gonna go into your finger. Tap a little bit on the finger, and now I'm gonna go, you'll see, I'm going on the bridge of the nose, the side of the bridge of the nose. I'm hugging my nose contour line. A nose contour is made up of the contour line, but also the brightener line. Contour is gonna slim the nose. So if we have this darkness here and we hug it with this little bit of a brighter color, that's the effect you're looking for. And now I'm going underneath the trough of the eye here because I don't want a lot of pigment sitting, a lot of product sitting in that portion of my eye because that's where my fine lines and wrinkles are. So I'm just tapping in, come here to the outside of my eye. And I'm gonna kind of use what's left on my finger to just blend this all together. Now I'm gonna look, I have a little bit of a dark spot here. Just tap, if it blends, it extends. So now I'm bringing whatever is left on my finger up a little bit closer to the eye, but I'm not going any higher than where I naturally have that little like eye pocket. Right here. And down the side of the nose. Our nose contour, nice and cleaned up there. Hitting that pocket right there and to the outside. Again, if you don't want to touch your face, you can get a small brush like the detail brush, the blend brush, or the spot brush. Now we have brightened the under eye and down in this area. Let's go to the center of the forehead and down the nose, contour lines. Just tap that out a little. Top of the Cupid's bow, in the center of the chin. What we are looking to do with our brightener is to add brightness into this like heart-shaped area of the face. So now we blend. This is perfector time. This is where we go in, we make sure that we have our lines all married together and that we don't have any excess product in the areas that we would naturally crease. So like under eyes, your smile lines, and then I'm just tapping here to make sure that everything blends together seamlessly, and we're almost done. So at this point, you have a couple of options. If you're like me and you're a bronzer girl, it's time to go to the big end of the blush and bronzer brush, and we are going to hit those high points of the face, which is just where the sun would naturally give us that little bit of glow. The high points of the face are typically where you get sunburn. Go a little across the nose, the chin, and you can go down your neck if you want to Darken up your neck just a tinge to keep everything matching. If you don't need to, then you don't. Flip over to this end and we are going back to the small end and tapping on just a little bit of that blush. We are going to hug the contour line. But this is it. This is how we use the blush and bronzer brush to get, I would consider this a light coverage. I could build it up if I wanted to get more coverage, and all I would do if I wanted more coverage would be to tap this small end into my main shade and press on accordingly. So we are hugging that contour line up. You can bring some up here, use our finger for the lips. And we are gonna end this with a little bit of illuminator. Now, you can either use your finger and tap that on. If you're worried about fingerprint lines, go back to your perfector. And this is the only time I'm ever gonna tell you to swipe into your product, and it's just to get enough on here. And then we're gonna press it on that highest point of the cheekbone. Swipe in, highest point of the cheekbone, and it's just gonna give you that added glow. I'm gonna flip it over, make sure it's blended well. This is my go-to brush, blush and bronzer brush. The small end is gonna do almost everything that you could need. What it doesn't do in small areas, you can use your finger, and then of course you have your perfector to get rid of any excess product, to add on your illuminator, and you are basically good to go. If you asked me if there were brushes that I would add to this, I do recommend to all of my new folks that want anything but full coverage, this brush and this brush. This is the detail brush. Again, perfect for contouring because it has this knife edge, but then it also has this small edge, which you can do all of those areas that I was doing with my finger. If you are somebody that likes a small tool for spot treating acne or for getting precisely into the under eye area, the spot brush would be perfect. These three brushes, you could do everything except really full coverage, from the most minimal spot treatment all the way up to medium coverage, and you're still gonna have natural glowing skin, especially when you get rid of the excess with your perfector. So that is it for our first video. If there's a specific brush that you would like to see next, drop it in the comments and I'll be happy to do that brush. But if not, come back next week and see what next brush we'll be using. As always, thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next week.